Heyo.
Heyo.
Welcome to Benchwarmers, a WOSO podcast, episode 16, part 2, 16B, whatever you want to call it. We are covering it's not the deadline day, it's just the last game of the league phase of the UWCL. 9 games yesterday. Have you recovered? Not really.
I was doing a bit of double screaming, a bit of triple streaming. I feel like Disney are probably going to catch a case with me. Like they're going to be like, how are you watching so many at the same time?
I had 2 at the same time because my brain could barely comprehend 2, to be honest. It was a struggle. I was watching Juve United and VFL Chelsea, and I was like, I'll watch your game after. I'll watch any upsets that happen, but really there was only one half upset. But it also just depends who you ask what an upset is, I guess, because, some would say Benfica drawing to PSG is half an upset, but I tend to disagree. But we are going to go through them in order of somewhat upset, which starts with Twente and Real Madrid. Real Madrid doing what they do best, which is immensely disappointing on a European level, sometimes just making you question what the happened and why do you get bailed out by your midfielders every single game in the UCL. And this is not the first time this happened. This happened against Paris FC. This is a nearly identical game to Paris FC in the sense of that they had more shots on target. They copped a few chances, but nothing major. But both teams just could not convert a second goal or even mount a potential comeback earlier on in the game, because that's what happens when you have certain players who have a certain archetype of finishing and they paid the price. But there was a bit of foreshadowing early on. So Dabritz scores a goal, but Redondo's offside in the Phase 1 build-up prior to the goal. Very unlucky, but again, if you're offside, you're offside. That's totally fair. Then Caicedo has a few chances. Then Proust, I don't know who Proust is, but far out. What a strike. Hits the post from the switch from Twente. Twente's midfield. Obviously it's Van Ginkel and Raw. They're not like nobodies by any means, but their ability to switch the ball at ease against Real Madrid, they definitely looked a bit worse for wear, this Madrid midfield.
I thought they looked tired. I thought physically they looked outworked, but I also think Twente looked more up for the game. I feel like Madrid, in their security, knowing that they were going to get, in that top half of the table, were complacent. I think there is that for Madrid, though. We've seen that in the Champions League of the past, especially with times of group stages where they know that they're secure and they just kind of roll out their last 2 games with ease. But I don't know. I thought Twente were really frustrated with the Arsenal game last week, and I thought that they wanted to correct the wrongs of that, particularly in their finishing. And that's funny because there was only 1 goal, but the goal that they did score, I think, was a good example of what happens when Twente are more accurate and more precise in front of goal.
Well, they just moved the ball quicker and they caught Real Madrid early second half. But, even before that, Fella had 2 really big chances in that first half. And, we talked about it off camera, but Fella, if she could just put the ball in the net, man, this is the way Mallard gets PR for United, and everyone was saying that Mallard could be a WSL top goal scorer at the start of the season. I'd look at Fella the same way. She should be on that Imade level, but the position she gets into, the chances she forces goalkeepers to get. But you can't be hitting the keeper from 6 yards. She's making Leme look like prime Courtois. And to be fair, she was prime Courtois in this game. So there were 8 saves up to the 95th minute. She was doing amazing work to keep it 0-0. Then the fast move starts. Proust whips the ball, and then Ravensbergen, their absolute machine of a 9, heads that ball near post. Early 1-0 second half for Twente, and then this kind of wakes up Real Madrid and makes sure that, Caicedo had a generational second half. This was crazy. The way she was just like, you know what, screw this. I'm sick of the way we've been building up. I'm going to change the game a little bit. And I wonder if that's what Quesada's probably told her to do, is not play so rigid.
I think Quesada has probably told her to be that freer player. I feel like that role used to probably go to a player like Athenea in terms of kind of what they would do on the flank and how they would cut in, kind of take on their player. I just think Linda is better at it. And I just think that Quesada has recognized that. It's taken him 2 years, but he's recognized that. And I think right now, the way that she's been able to drift in and out of the 10 to the 9 to the flank, it's just, to me, this is a player now that I don't know what her ceiling is, but it's a high ceiling in any position in that forward line.
Yeah, but I mean, their defense was so resolute. I mean, no offense to Twente, but there was little to no jeopardy / ramifications for winning or losing this game other than a semblance of dignity, and that's fair. But ultimately, the crowd was up for it. The crowd was screaming every time they made a save. Caicedo goes on that Marta-esque run, on the 48th minute. She literally ran through everyone, and then Noel, the centre half, she was fantastic all game.
Well, we know what happens when Twente have a good turnout for their home games and, pack out their stadium and intimidate, really, the opposition. Yeah. We saw it against Chelsea. I don't necessarily think we saw it against Arsenal, but I was impressed by the way that Twente, despite the final result, I think that they can have their head held high. It was an uneven game in terms of Real Madrid probably should have won, if we're being honest. But I don't know. I think that Twente, along with some of the other teams, are a real testament to the European powerhouses that kind of exist in other parts of outside the Big Five. And they'll
be back in the UCLW next year with the same level of players, if not more experienced, with some youngsters coming through. Hopefully Jill Roord stays if she doesn't get homesick from her own country. But I mean, we have to mention Dabritz headed the ball into the woodwork. Redondo follows up over the bar. Sometimes you kind of just thought the Real quarterfinals, high seed quarterfinal, wasn't meant to be, and Caicedo sets up Athenea to Weir, and then another save for Leme, ridiculous, and then it took till 5 seconds left on the clock, 94:55, and there was just a bit of chaos in the box, and then Dabritz hits a ball. Leme was actually in the right space to save this, and then it just deflects off Noel, who had an amazing game, but just left that one mistake on the board, and that's what happens. But they weren't making playoffs, but they've stopped Real from potentially garnering top 4, and ultimately puts a hard run for Real Madrid. It's now put them in the path, as we'll talk about later, of their respective league rivals. The next relative upset, I don't know if you can call this an upset.
I think this is an upset for people who think that Juve are going to make any sort of semblance of run in. So
are you speaking about anyone in particular there? I think Juve will make semi-finals.
we can't keep subtweeting attacking third podcast. They will kill us.
They will kill us. They will. No, we are not the defensive back four.
No, but I think Juve are posed as the upsetters, if you like, when they're not really. They're easily broken down. On their day, they're not scoring as they did today. They could have all the firepower in the world, and the connection between their midfield and attack is basically non-existent. I just think United outplayed Juve on all levels of the park. And I think Skinner, this is probably, and it's funny, I think this is one of Skinner's most technically or tactically best performances in the Champions League, just based on how he was able to take a team that I don't think they've played a Juve-esque team in the Champions League so far, a really defensively resolute team that is, very based in the philosophy of attacking on the counter, on trying to build up very slowly and technically. But I honestly think United. I thought United played very well, and I hate saying that. So
I don't disagree. I think in their campaign so far, the big teams they've played: Atletico Madrid, Stylers, creative chance machines. They played VFL pressing machines who take ambitious chances on, and then Lyon, who are just a European titan. None of them are that defensive miserly team, but they broke them down quickly and early, and with the last player I'd want it to be, Jess Park, probably her biggest moment for United thus far.
Her biggest Champions League moment, easily.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, she had a few moments for us in the UCL, but they weren't to this ramification or implication where she's packed that ball into the top bins. Peru Magnon absolutely no chance to save that. And that was all she wrote, really. There were some good chances for United. I can't, other than Carbonell's one chance where the ball got whipped across. I think it was the 66th minute. But Carbonell arrived late. If she hit that ball well, maybe. But ultimately, Taylor-Joyce was not tested enough in this game. She was time wasting. She was holding onto the ball. This was like, when we're talking about Skinner's masterclass, it's across the park, each line. The defense weren't passing unless provoked. The goalie wasn't playing the ball unless provoked. Then the midfield mix, Jess Park finally getting the freedom we were expecting. We were expecting her to get across the season, but kind of in the last 4 or 5 game stint, they kind of lost it. And she was getting locked up a little bit, and now she's finding the space. She's setting up chances from deep. She's getting on ambitious shots at the end of chances, and their ball movement was fast. Their ball movement made Juve look slow and old, and that's what you've got to do. If you're going to be a budding competitor in the UCL, you've got to make experienced teams look slow. And Juve are always in the UCLW. No, let alone, I don't think they're a contender or a challenger the way other people or other podcasters may think so, but ultimately Juventus are seasoned veterans in the UWCL, and to beat them is a statement in itself, and I think that's important.
I don't know. I feel like this is a game that just again proves that the WSL is the most technically superior, the fastest league when it comes to football, and I saw that. We can quickly mention the other games as well. There are parts in which you're looking at WSL teams and they have no pressure on them. The way that they're able to turn with ease, the way that they're able to make those passes, incisive passes, particularly down the flanks, where I'm seeing players like Miyazawa just have completely freedom that she never has in the WSL. I just think unless the other teams in Europe can match that, I don't, and I'm talking about not the Lyons and the Barças, right? I'm talking about the B side of the European teams. Unless they can match that, I don't think on their day, the WSL team will be necessarily challenged in the way that we've seen them. And we've seen results where it's maybe a terrible game from the WSL side. We'll see that the smaller European giant will, take that WSL side. But honestly, I just think in the way that United performed in this game versus how they've been performing in the WSL, there's a stark difference, and I really think it's based on who they're playing. Yeah,
but that's exactly that last sentence. I 100% agree. I think not to bring it back to a sport you don't know, but styles do make fights, and ultimately, Juve smacked up Lyon for 45 minutes and then copped the repercussions of that later on. United got packed in by Lyon straight up, and that's the thing, right? So it depends on who they play. I think United's rigidity and then operational, rigidity at the back and then operational freedom in the front six is good for a team like Juve who play such narrow transition ball, trying to speed up on the flanks and then set up things behind the ball. It'll work against them, but compare that to Lyon. Lyon aren't going to have any of that freedom. They're not going to give you the steps and freedom to turn. Jess Park was ultimately a spectral physical stature in comparison to what she did this game, and I think that's the issue, is that they need to turn up and they need to churn up a result against a side that, ultimately they've done it before, but then if they keep going, we'll get to the bracket eventually, but Bayern are going to be resolute at the back. They're going to be creative at the front. They're going to move faster than you because they have faster players and more aggressive physical players than you. So they'll have a lot of work, a lot of training, but a lot of blueprint and homework that can be studied, because Bayern are probably the team that's been watched quite a bit in the last few weeks as a budding contender, the way I think Juve is talked about. VFL Chelsea, a game that, you know what? I was watching United Juve at the same time, but this is the one that had my attention. This game was, both teams just put on a show. Stefan Lurch, Sonia Bompasta, well done to both of you for absolutely going. You could have both put shields up, you both qualified, you're both whatever, but they went for the hills, and it started early. It started very quickly. There were a barrage of chances early on, a barrage of tackles early on. I feel like they wanted both teams to suffer their respective tacklers. I mean, when you put Cuthbert and Enderman and Pettimores and Camilla Cuva on the same field, like, you kind of realize that they're just going to absolutely slice each other in pieces. But it was kind of foreshadowing the present, as Pop missed an open header by her
I
standards.
know. I was like, what is? I was like, you would literally give it to no one else, and they gave it to Pop, and she missed
and
it.
that she missed it, but made up for it literally 2 minutes later. I wonder how Chelsea fans feel without Hannah Hampton in the goal. But Peng's clearances, she cannot just keep the ball away from that girl's feet. Like, don't get me wrong, good shot stopper, and then made up for a mistake later on with some decent saves. But Janu intercepts it. I don't actually know how this falls between Pop and Walsh, and Kira Walsh just kind of realizes that going in a 50-50 against Alex Pop is probably not the last thing she wants to do in a game week 7. But the technical ability to punch that ball, half volley, clean. I don't know if Peng I think it was a reaction to the fact that she didn't think she was going to shoot. But it wasn't too far away from Peng, but I'm not going to say that Peng should have saved it or anything.
It reminded me of Beth Mead's goal for England in the last international break, where she just smacks it half volley, laces. It's different positions, but just the technique of it.
Was against China.
Against China, I think. Yeah, it's just the technique of it. And I love seeing that Pop still has. I mean, she's never going to lose it. That instinct in front of goal is just incredible.
That's the part of the game you don't lose, 100%. But ultimately, this goal was like adrenaline to Bompasta. Like, this woke them up. They changed the way they played. We're going to talk about a few players who are very good, but ultimately, I just think this whole game was just from about 2020 onwards was a managerial absolute masterclass. And sometimes you scratch your head. You're like, Sonia, what the hell are you doing? Like, why are you taking off Ellie Carpenter when she's running? The first half, she was running the show on that right side, created chance for Sam. Sam's gets blocked. It was Sam v. Kuva all game. It was so entertaining. She was corking her.
Sam in the first half looked a shell of herself, and we've been saying this, but she looked worse than we've been saying that she looked. She did not have a good first half. I mean, Sam had been building up to this performance. This was the game where she had to prove herself on the European stage to say that she is the number one striker and she is the one to trust. But I mean, VFL just didn't have as many chances post the goal, and Bierenstein had 2. One of them, the first one, the header off target, sure, you're not Alex Pop, that's fine. But the one where Pettimore sets you up 8 yards out, you have to score that. You just do. You like that. This is the game, and I understand this is Bierenstein's, like, this is her book that she's going to write next to Olga and Mary's is ultimately, why couldn't I do this every week? Like, she is one of those players who's just, again, kind of like that Naomi Feller category of a good finish away from being considered world-class, in my opinion, and she just can't deliver that consistency. And then, ultimately, I thought Sam was going to come off, not Ellie, because when Sandy set her up early in the first half, she had to, I mean, Kuva puts her off enough, but it hits your knee, mate. Like, it's hit your knee at the back post. There's no goalie in the goals. That's what I mean. The Sam Kerr of, pre-injury scoring that. But I'm not even going to blame the injury on this. This is just someone who just, I don't think she was connected to the Chelsea midfield or even
in the first half,
in the first half. I felt like she was kind of like drifting around the centre backs of Wolfsburg, and no one wanted to pass her the ball because it would be basically in like immediate loss of possession.
Well, it's just she garners so much proximity and pressure. They don't let her turn. It's not like Caro at the edge of the box against Paris. Like, you have to actually, she has to manufacture her own space. And I think Sonia told her that in the first half, because the way in which she was making runs in the second half compared to the first half were completely different. The Sam Kerr days of her running onto a ball, I think, are going to die. I think they are dead. They are 6 foot deep, one foot for every title that they've won. But ultimately, AT has some good moments, intercepts a pass, plays it to LJ. LJ got subbed off at halftime, rightfully
LJ
so.
did nothing. She's
Yeah.
doing nothing. And playing her is such a waste because you're losing pace. You're losing a player in midfield that you desperately need. But
And
you're
you're
also
losing the game. You're losing the game.
you're losing the game.
1-0.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and then this is where, I mean, Lucy Bronze by this point had probably made about 7 defensive contributions, and then Bussy has that counter attack, and it's amazing. And then Lucy Bronze makes that unbelievable sliding challenge, and then scores 4 minutes later. And you just think to yourself, where would Bompasta's Chelsea be without MBE Lucy Bronze? My goodness.
I want to know kind of what happened in between, like basically the beginning of the first half to what happened with Lucy Bronze in whatever minute it was. Like, to me, Lucy Bronze was easily the man of the match of this game. I have
no question.
There's no qualm. But I think Lucy Bronze, for all intensive purposes, is the player of every match if Chelsea are going to win. Like, she's so important.
Are you saying bronze or bust?
I'm saying bronze, but I've been saying bronze or bust because there's absolutely no way that Chelsea have defensive stability, contributions coming into midfield when she pushes up, and
in goals.
Yeah, in goals as well, as she proved. But her and Ali, to me, have been the most consistent Chelsea players. If you're going to take, like, you know, the slight twinge of like a Kira Walsh or something, or an Evan Cuff, but like on the flanks, they are the players I'm looking to create opportunities to save Chelsea when, you know, it's a 1v1 or a 2v1. And I think Lucy Bronze it showed in this game why she's so important.
Oh yeah, I actually kind of see. I was gonna say, like, when Lucy was injured, they were kind of fine, and I think it's because Ellie just kind of took the reins. They had Bjorn and Bright still doing it.
But don't you think that they were playing, like, I think with Lucy they just have an edge. Like,
I think if they're going to win the Champions League this year, she's going to have her mitts all over that trophy, right? But I mean, look at just this game when they have to do it, when the chips are down. You're not going to Bjorn, you're not going to Bright, you're not going to Walsh. It's this girl who, I mean, I'm not going to go off the numbers, but everyone saw her recoveries, her defensive contributions, the Jules won. Like, you just can't beat her. Like, I think that's why all the interviews are the same when they talk about her. It's like the girl's just got this mentality. Regardless of age, regardless of fitness, she just backs herself in every single time. And it doesn't matter if she's smaller or not as strong, she will position herself in a way that draws a foul. She'll position herself in a way that means her outlet pass is in the right spot. And if not, last but not least, if no one's in front of her, she'll run with it. She'll carry the ball like a prime 10, like a prime right wing who wants to score or get an assist, and she'll play a very quality ball. It's not like Ellie Carpenter of Yonder. Like, this is what happens, and she got them back in the game. But ultimately, I think Sonia won this game. I think Sonia's player of the match, in my opinion, because she kind of just realized that VFL's chance creation was so low in the first half. You can be 1-1. You can go into that half, and luckily Lucy scored at the halftime, because I think it would be a different team talk if they were 1-0 down. But the front four, the Bierenstein, Pop, Bussy, and Huth, I believe, just weren't testing weren't testing Peng in any way. And ultimately, it was a very nice goal that got them. But the subs were genius, taking off LJ straight away for Nuskin so they could pack the midfield. Then change the pace of the attack, because you don't have that free roam LJ in there, and bolster your midfield defensive structure. Nuskin's recoveries, defensive contributions in the second half speak for themselves. She was fantastic. Again, I think she has to start at some point. At some point, the chip's got to give. But it was the second sub, right? So once they held the middle of the park better, they had possession more in the second half. Ellie, for JRK, in the 60th minute, you scratch your head. You're like, why is this happening? But JRK in the next 10 minutes was arguably player of the match for that 10-minute stint.
And we've been saying this. I think we are far more pro JRK than Chelsea's own fans. Chelsea's fans are they have this.
I do say her output needs to be better, but ultimately
I just don't care. Like,
what she brings
output?
to the game is far beyond.
I feel like Chelsea are so, I don't even know what the word is. They are so up themselves when it comes to the players that they have. They expect perfection because like the Emma Hayes era ran down their players so much so that by the end of the season, they were all breaking down because they, for the last 20 games, had given their all. Like, JRK is a player that I think, in my personal opinion, eases into games, eases into seasons. I think last season, the first half specifically, was probably her greatest run of form, like for Chelsea ever. And then this season, I think
the
that
first half, definitely.
and then coming off the back of a very successful Euros, in my opinion, I think that the way that Sonia has been using JRK has not maybe been to the liking of players because she's not getting as much time as fan favorite Guru Reiten.
But do you not think of that with Nuskin as well? Nuskin had a very good last year, had a very good Euros as well. Like, got them back into games, and then has come into this season, and I think the question marks are all over her.
I think Nuskin has personally offended Sonia Bonpastor. Like, at this point, you'll have to ask yourself why she's not playing, because she's better, in my opinion, than some of the midfielders that are playing. And furthermore, she's better in the types of play that they're playing. So if they're playing a 3-5-2, I want Nuskin. If you're playing a 4-4-2, I want Nuskin. If you're playing a 4-3-3, okay, sure. Like, I don't really know.
I would still want Nuskin. I would think she's probably third or fourth name on the sheet for me.
Well, she's more than captain for you.
Exactly. I mean, I've been saying that since the dawn of time, but a cap time. But ultimately, I think that. I mean, it's not even what she brings to each position; it's the leadership, and the leadership in the midfield was shown in that second half. But again, Chelsea fans they'd rather an Alyssa Thompson type winger than a JRK type winger because they want the output, they want the age, the output, the flair, the mercurial nature of Alyssa Thompson. That turn and shot was very nice from Ellie's cross early on, but. Stina Johannes, or as I would say, the masked Stina Johannes. I actually think that was bothering her. I know she was making saves, but I always think back to that Mbappe interview where he was masked and everyone was like, oh, he's going to play like God mode. But he was talking about it. He's like, I have to take the mask off because it pisses me off. I just don't have the same peripheral vision when I'm playing. And so much of football is about your field of vision. And I mean, she was making good saves, but it's just not enough. And I always wonder whether that corner with Lucy Bronze, I mean, it was a great header, but maybe a fully firing Stina Johannes comes out and gets it. Who knows, really?
I don't know. I feel like at that point of the game, you kind of have to ask yourself when momentum theory kind of kicks in. Like at some point, like Chelsea were going to score, in my opinion. I honestly thought that Wolfsburg were going to get an equalizer by the end of the game, but. I don't know. I honestly felt Sam Kerr's goal came out of nowhere, like genuinely.
It wasn't just out of nowhere. It was Lucy Bronze stopping multiple counterattacks in a row, and then interception, passes it to JRK. JRK versus Janu levels is not a 1v1 that Janu levels wants in any way. Yeah. And then Sam runs near post. Kuva falls over for the first time, makes a mistake, and Sam heads it far post like it's 2022. Oh my God, the heading is back. There we go. That's what we've been calling for. That's the kind of Sam Kerr goal. But it's also not running onto a chance directly. Yeah, this is standing up, playing your defender 1v1, saying, you know what? I'm not going to run onto a ball. You're going to have to mark me. And her heading power is still there. She kept Stina Johannes rooted at the spot. And ultimately, that was all she wrote. I mean, I know there was a good cross that Peng saved, and then there was that corner, and then Enderman hits the bar. It was a good finish, and that's what made this game so electric. I mean, It wasn't just a give up from Wolfsburg. They really, really wanted to mount a chance to be able to even secure a spot in the finals. But look, 36 shots, 12 on target, combined the teams, just higher percentage of chances taken by Sonia's Chelsea. But a fantastic game to watch. And shout out to them. It's probably one of the best games of the league phase so far, albeit not the most clinical.
I thought it was one of the most technically but tactically
high level
games.
High level games, definitely up there. As we move to a team that I've been saying has been the favourite for the last 3 weeks, and they're still doing it. The Lions in the Lions' den, just running over Atletico Madrid like it was nothing. And Diani is so back. Oh my God, running the show on that right side. Atleti did start early, hit the post from Loren's header. Ultimately, if you're going to beat Lyon, you've got to score them. You've got to score them. You've got to score early. You've got to put the pressure on them early. But they just ran into this game. De Mornay, Diani, Hegerberg testing Gallardo, and then eventually Diani's cross deflects off Boarisa. And that's the last player you want scoring the own goals for you. You don't want your midfield maestro doing that. Yeah. And it's just a shame. But the form slide is over for Diani, and I think the PR will start to begin because her last 3-4 games have been splendid. And this is the 24-25 start of the season Diani that we were watching and saying, like, you know what? On her run, like when she was at PSG even, before the Lyon run, this is a player that on her day just shreds through everyone on that right side.
She looked free. She just looked free. She was also really willing to, ride the challenges, whatever that may be from Atleti. I thought she was...
second dribble, third dribble, come back, stand up the defender, and then back to goal, shimmy one way, find the other way. She's so good at that. She'll just never give up on the one ball ever.
Her work rate is insane. Yeah, it actually reminds me a lot of Ali Carpenter, because I think that if we're talking about a player who's just willing to sacrifice their own tank, if you like, in terms of how willing they are to just make runs
for the
sake of it. Yeah, for the moment. But I also think you would, right? You have that forward line. You also have those box crashes. You would sacrifice yourself on the flank to get, at least those players into good positions to score. I would, if I was playing and I saw that you had that starting lineup ahead of you and you could look forward and see, Ada Hegerberg and whoever up front, you're pinging balls to them.
Chewinga.
You're pinging balls to them left, right, and centre. Of course you are.
But also she has the luxury to not track back as much. She doesn't have to defend, but her ball retention, that's what Ellie Carpenter has to work on, is that level of ball retention.
Agreed.
But if this game was going to be over at 1-0, it certainly was going to be over when Luany decided to go full UFC mode. I don't know what that was, but the hair tug. What did you expect? What did you really expect?
More of this recently? Is this become more of a thing? I feel like we've gone.
It was Balumu at the start of the season.
There's been more. There was some. There was that one in the Euros as well, I believe, against France, and then
that was
against
it Ket?
Mbok, right?
Was it Ket? Yeah, Ket on Mbok. Yeah,
and I was like, we went 30 years, basically, of playing professionalized football insofar as, we've known that players have had long hair. And then in the last, 2 years, everyone's just been pulling people back by the hair. And we're also seeing it in the men as well. So I don't really know.
Yeah, no, 100%. The Cucurella stuff, 100%. But I don't know, Luany, I don't understand. I don't know what did she just not want to play? Did she know that was the ramifications ultimately?
It's like death taxes and Atleti either scoring a worldie or getting a red card. Those four things.
They do have the prime culprit of players that are reckless Brazilian on the field going crazy, but ultimately game over was game over there. Just the numbers. Lyon 32 shots, 8 on target to 2 shots, 0 on target. Atleti's playing a pot 4 side since Luany came off, and it's you're not this bad. It's just the context of the game is brutal. And then Hegerberg,
I think they're that bad in comparison to Lyon. Lyon just make you look like shit, basically.
They are so good.
It's just when you're watching any opposition playing against Lyon, you're seeing the class difference, and so you're looking at a team that just looks like they're facing up against this giant and are shitting themselves. That's
Michelle was definitely licking her lips watching Hegerberg, De Mornay take chances on chances, and then Diani has another cross, and this time instead of a deflection, it's a handball, and then Renard takes the pen, forces the dive. Renard, another goal, making it 104. This is just Bunny Shaw numbers right here, insane.
Christ.
And then literally a minute later after the penalty, they switch the play. De Mornay, Tarsian, Diani, these are all the players Kang would want to be combining and finding the net, and Diani's outside of the foot finish. Like, this is the part of the game that was eluding her at the start of the season, the clinical nature. She needs to be in those spots, and to run onto that ball, right foot, outside of the foot, into the near post. It's just... The comms described it best. It was relentless build-up. It's merciless. They wanted 3-4 goals, and then if you want to describe merciless anymore, it's Corbin Albert's rocket into the net. That was a ridiculous strike, and like, this is in her locker. You have to do your homework if you're playing Lyon. You need to know that if you give Albert any space from 30 yards or in, she's going to take the shot. Like, there's no one... She's not going to pass that off in any day of the week. And she made you pay. And ultimately, you're on the same side as them. You're going to try and lock them up. And teams are going to try and lock them up and give them space. And ultimately, I don't know what Wolfsburg or Juventus will have planned for them. Obviously, Juve do have the relative blueprint. But I don't think Lyon will let that slip the same way.
I think Geraldes right now is basically like, he used this game to practice different avenues to goals. So I think most of the goals were different, if not all of them were different.
100%.
And I think the way that you expose Lyon is to identify the most common ways to goals that they're going by, usually by the flanks, and you cut that off, and then you actually take your chances. And that's what Atletico didn't do. And then that's basically, they just died. They looked like, like an impaled fighter, still fighting, but like they were going to die anyway. So to me, Atleti gave up. And then Lyon were able to capitalize and feast on the fact that they were 10 men down, something that you wouldn't expect teams to go up against Lyon 10 men down usually. And then the fact that they were given license to just do whatever they want, and Corbin Albert's goal proved that. Like, she could just shoot from that far out and have no ramification, because Atleti, were dead already.
I think, I don't disagree at all. I think the method to beating Lyon is the individual battles. I think you have to get individuals. It's 11v11 out there. I know Geraldes is a masterful coach, and if your coach can beat Geraldes, that's great, but the individual battles is what's going to beat Lyon. So if you're the centre-back who's taking Ada, you've got to know where she is all the time. You've got to stop her runs, her carry into the box, and also just stop her playing off your shoulder, because that's what she'll do. But I mean, if I was whoever's the player that has to mark De Mornay, I mean, good luck, really. The free roam behaviour, I mean, you just need someone running with her. Even if she goes to the bathroom, just follow her there. Like, at this point, like, you cannot give her the space, because she's kind of their barometer to build up the speed of the attack. But if any teams are going to beat her, I don't know if it's on their side. I think the draw has done them quite a bit of a favour, but obviously last year revealed a different side of Lyon that Arsenal were able to exploit. Bayern cemented their spot, schmonking Vålerenga 3-0. Could have been more. Yeah. Yeah, could have been more, definitely. And I mean, Georgia Stanway's penalty got saved. I mean, that's all you need. Incredible. Shout out to the goalie, Tove Emblom. By the way, Leggy, Swedish goalie. Do you want to buy her now?
We'll buy her. We'll take her. We'll take anyone
her
now.
And Falk. Just take them all. Take all the Swedes for Oslo, But ultimately, I mean, the game was over 2 minutes in. Ket cuts it back. Tanikawa smack. Transition from Simon, Bull, and Damjanovic. Just too easy. And then, I mean, I did not know Pedersen could do this. This was psychopathic. I don't understand. They just let her run. She carries the ball, right foot, Pina-esque, into the side corner, like 2-0 in 11 minutes, 26 shots, 10 on target for the game, to 4 shots, 1 on target. And one of those shots was a penalty by Georgia Stanway, who I'd backed 99 times out of 100 to score, and she got saved. But then Clara Bull doing Clara Bull things for at least 20 minutes of this game. I don't know how you stop her. I actually don't.
You take her out. You literally have to take her out.
You have to go full Brexit mode on her, and I don't know who from Barcelona, if Ona Batia is going to go after her in that way. But I mean, 3-0, Pernille Harder, header, shock. Who crossed the ball? Assist number 19 this season for Clara motherfucking Bull. And then, I mean, Caruso's headed goal is nice, but Alara is offside. And ultimately, a sad scenes at full time for Vålerenga, as they just miss out on the UCL playoffs, but also just a very admirable campaign for Vålerenga across this season. I think they had a much better run than St. Polten. I mean, I think they could have got 3 points against St. Polten. I feel like that would have done them a favour instead of that 2-2. But ultimately, nothing to ride home about, nothing that's worth a sacking. They'll be back in the UWCL as they usually are and put pressure on certain teams, put some damage on them. I reckon... I don't know. I reckon some of their players get poached sometimes, but ultimately I think there is a little bit of onus on players to look at the other teams in the Europa Cup, because I think there's less money in it and less pressure on the team to be able to develop to a higher level, whereas Vålerenga, St. Polten want to be European like namesteads, and they...
Well, I think they have established themselves in that. Like, I think for the last few seasons, I think I honestly commend Vålerenga, because teams like Häcken have dropped off in terms of how willing they are to make the qualification rounds of the Champions League. But Vålerenga have proved that if you just keep going at it and make those qualification rounds, worthwhile, then you'll be able to, hit it with the heavyweights. But this is a very young team. I mean, like, their average age was like 23 or something. So
crazy.
Like, I don't expect them to, to have European glory anytime soon, but I do expect them to, be makers.
They should be in the playoff ranks. Like, they should be around there, and they'll test it year in, year out. It's not like their league jeopardy and form is off. They're playing really well domestically, and they'll be back, and they'll torment my team next year. I can tell you now, it will happen. Speaking of torment, this game was torment. Honestly, the two teams...
It was torture.
Yeah, torture. Yeah, two teams that haven't won in the Champions League so far, continuing that streak in not winning a game in the Champions League campaign this whole season. Insult to injury for both Benfica and PSG, ending 1-1. Mainly for PSG. I mean, I don't know how many chances. Echegini's goal was great to start, but then De Almeida gives up the penalty. It's like you have to do one good thing and then it gets cancelled out by one thing where your team does a bonehead play. And then I don't know how much corner set piece training they're going to do this week, PSG. But my God, if like, I'm thinking, like, anyone who watches Menso no WOSO out there, think of like Choupo-Moting's like the worst finish of all time. We're talking that level from Echegini in the 74th minute. Hits the post twice in about a millisecond. It was so bad. They had so many shots. I mean, Graziani was great, but like, come on, just like, do it. Just win a game,
Yeah, to me, it's basically like a tragedy, if you like, for PSG, because you can't end your campaign second last behind a team like Benfica, who I think this is the worst Benfica team I've ever seen in the Champions League, right? Like, this, to me, Paris have proven themselves to be lightweights when it comes to Europe. Now, this is a team that used to be quite good. Like, they used to be able to make finals and
UCL semi-final.
Yeah, and they used to be able to hold themselves against the teams like particularly Lyon, but also, the WSL teams, etc., the Barças as well. But like,
it is a different team. Like I agree, but it is a completely different personnel.
I was just about to say, this team is not built for Champions League football. They are so unambitious. They are being carried in midfield by a player who, like, her back is broken into about 1,000 pieces in Karchaoui. And you're looking at what happens when you're not investing enough, and you're seeing the results, missing own goals, having scrappy finishes, giving up 1v1s. Like, this is not a team that wanted to play, let alone can play in the Champions League to a high level.
I mean, I don't want to compare them to the Vålerenga St. Polten, that realm, because they are
in that realm.
They are in that realm, but in the sense of like their play, like, if I'm going to give them any speck of like retribution, it's got to be the fact that their players are young. Like Isabella, Graziani, these players will get better, they will get older, they will get wiser, and then ultimately the sad reality of it is that this was a team with Diani and Katoto and all these masterful, like, Martens, like, they're like, this is like Ballon level players to now like budding contenders, and that's why I think there was a lot more pressure on them based on their European pedigree in comparison to
It's the
Paris
name.
FC.
If you
Yeah,
take out their name, if you swapped Paris FC and PSG, there would be
that'd be
no
about
different.
the
Like you,
same.
it'd be
Yeah.
about the same. The PSG name holds so much where it probably shouldn't, especially in the women's game in the last like 3 years, in my opinion.
But ultimately, I mean, Paris FC, like qualifying for
Mm.
the playoffs, is where PSG should be. So, I mean, I think if Paris FC get knocked out, I wonder what the France coefficient will look like.
It's
And they
just
might,
Lyon.
yeah, it might just be Lyon. No, it might just be top two, and that
Yeah.
puts pressure on Paris FC. Despite the fact Paris FC have been better in the Champions League, that might be their one-hit wonder in the UCL. Roma, who finally get their name on the board in the UWCL. Wiens with a hat-trick in a 6-1 win over St. Pölten. St. Pölten being quite underwhelming this whole
I think
Champions
Roma
League
have a
campaign.
game like this. I think Roma have a game like this every single Champions League
No
campaign. Like,
jeopardy, too little, too late.
and it's
everything.
like always a stacking of like at least 6 goals. They just go crazy on one game. I respect it. I mean, good for them. This is basically their like Serie A form coming into the Champions League.
Congratulations, bit late, but
I mean, and
that's
St.
it.
Pölten aren't, they're just not the level of competition that Roma should be trying to play like this against. Like they should be playing like this against the teams they lost to or drew to earlier in the campaign. So I don't know. I think actually, for the result, it's actually quite a sour note because you can see what Roma could have done if they just like put effort in, basically.
Their namesakes turned up, right? So Alaya opens the score sheet. Pilgrim, great finish. Then Dragoni, Corelli also scoring. And then the 3 goals from Wiens, one of which was a magnificent ball from Giuliano, who also turned up in this game. The third was a deflection. The first was a weird deflection, but a nice strike on target anyway. But just enough, right? Defensive shambles for the third goal, puts her 1-on-1. She had a hat-trick in 66 minutes. So ultimately, they did more than enough. They copped one consolation at the end from a great long shot and then a rebound. But ultimately, not enough from both sides. And I mean, shows Roma's potential expectations versus reality. But like it does actually put an asterisk on their campaign, finishing a win outside of the qualification spots despite not really delivering on all sorts. This was I believe their first win in the UWCL.
Yeah, they only got one win.
Yeah, that was it. That was
losses.
it. And it's just not enough to deliver in comparison to your lot who have done what they need to do. Cleaning up Leuven at home, saucing them like a Belgian waffle. All you, my friend. The only thing I had to say, I mean, I'll go through my little bits and then you can take control in cruise control. But yet again, Liv Smith running the show, first chances, taking on the half chances, even a third of a chances, and then creates chances for herself at this point. I think that Mariona Liv combination needs to be utilized a little bit more because, I mean, I think they're just on the same wavelength now, and I think she kind of realizes the speed and power that Smith has, and then that was that strike and goal. And then MBE Beth, I called it. I said, this is the game. She'll smack up a bunch of young Belgian players, and it was easy as that on that side. Don't give Beth Mead the space to turn on that left foot on that corner. And then Mario looking better, getting into more attacking positions, but is it only because you're playing against Leuven, or is that the goal?
That's where I disagree with you because I think Mario's looked off. I think she looks tired. I think she looks a bit dejected, and I would too, honestly, because the amount of chances that she's trying to create, the amount of time on the ball where she's trying to make passing patterns, where she's trying to move the ball up, and then we get to that final piece and we throw that piece into like the river and don't go and retrieve it because our chances all of a sudden are becoming either we're scoring or we're not scoring. And I don't really like those two odds because to me, I would rather at least try to score. So try to take shots on, try and create something in the box, which I think we do, but mostly at the end of games when we've chucked Stina on for, rubbish minutes at the end of games. And to me, this is another game where I'm like, we won, which is fantastic. I'll never take that away from Renee, that she's winning games at least, and especially away from home. But I expect more. I expect if other teams are, rocking up and scoring 6 goals like we used to do, Why aren't we doing that anymore? Why is one of our goals an own goal? Why is another one of our goals just like shitty defending and allowing Beth Mead to look like, we're in 2021? Like this is not the Arsenal that, I expect, especially knowing that this time last year, Arsenal smacked Bayern at home in a performance that I don't even think, in terms of a group stage match or the ladder match has been replicated. I feel like we peaked early with that game and haven't really hit those heights yet in this particular phase of the Champions League.
I mean, I don't know. I want to like ease up on the fact that like Barca only beat Leuven 3-0. Like they're not a bad side. I agree. Your chance creation was decent in the sense of like you have a volume of chances, whether they're high percentage or not is questionable. I also think I think there's a difference for Mariona running to create her own chances in comparison to the chances being created for her to create. So, for example, I just don't think
enough players create chances for her.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm thinking of the sense of like if Smith is here and Ford is here, and then you have Mario here. Mario shouldn't have to run over here to be able to create the chance together, and then Fordy shouldn't have to come here to be able to do the link-up play. Whereas usually you had midfielders in behind to be able to come and connect, and then Mario can kind of hover. That's the thing is I'm seeing Mario do faster, higher intensity efforts when a lot of the game that was so good about last year for Mario is that it was effortless. It looked effortless. She wasn't sprinting after balls. She wasn't having to run on or play with her back to a player and then 1-2, fast feet, and then get around a player, get the separation. It's like maybe that's what happens. That's what comes of an incredible form year, and she has to readjust her game. But ultimately, I think you're right. The deflected goal was a bit of luck for Caitlin. But
I thought that the build-up was great.
Like, exactly, but it was deserved. The amount of chance creation you had in the second half, you deserved a goal. But
KCC had a good game.
Yeah, but 40, I mean, it's a decent substitute performance as a whole. I think Caitlin did a good job, and
I think this is her role now. I just don't like Caitlin Ford starting anymore, and it's mostly because she's not taking enough opportunities, and I want her on where the jeopardy of missing a shot 1v1 is not that high. I want her on when we're already 2-0 up, and she can just create a little bit of havoc, similar to Stina. Like I'm not expecting Stina to win games in the first 45. I'm expecting her to win games in the last 45, and similar to Ford, I just don't think that a player like Liv Smith is replaceable right now. And
so if you were playing Barcelona or Lyon over two legs, who would you start on the wings?
Liv Smith. Like so
easily.
No,
and who? Who's the right winger?
Beth.
You'd start Beth. Okay, interesting.
And you can say like, oh, we won the game from a Beth Mead substitute who came on and created a chance for Stina. Sure.
But I also thought Caitlin Ford was masterful in that Champions League final as well.
I thought she was fantastic, and I think the whole team was. It's a completely different kind of identity, if you like, in terms of how you approach that game versus the others.
Correct.
But I just think Beth Mead has proven herself, and like this is not me like saying, okay, well now we have to keep her. I'm just saying Beth Mead has proven herself to be a player whose defensive efforts are saving us. They are like our right hand side is weak, not because of Fox or because of whoever is on the right hand side. It's just because we're so dominant on the right hand side that we move the ball up so fast that we get lost on transition. But who comes back and saves us? And it's usually Beth Mead. So I have to give her plaudits for that.
I just wonder what happens. So I mean, you're on the side with Lyon. I think.
Oh, we'll smack him again. Easy.
No. Well, I mean, no. I just think, but Beth wasn't Beth wasn't starting when you smacked them again. That's the thing. Yeah, true. Like
but it's a different Beth Mead as well.
I agree. If this is a juiced up like Undertaker-esque Beth Mead revival era moment, sure. Like I'd love to see it, and I think it would be good for her career. It'd be good for Arsenal. That's what they need right now. But ultimately, I think experience sometimes trumps youth, and I think obviously Smith has to start the way she's playing. But I'd be looking at trying to find 40 a different home. I don't know. I think her recovery efforts, her physical capabilities are far greater than Beth. Yes, she can't score the way Beth Mead can, but Beth Mead, I think against Lyon can only play 40 minutes. I don't think she can play 65 minutes. Fair. So whether you play a half with Caitlin on the right side, giving Basha physical efforts, making it tough, making it hard for her, playing on her shoulder, and then when Beth comes on, she has a lesser physically gifted Salma Basha to have to deal with. That's probably the play, in my opinion.
Still, still, I think like Chloe Kelly. Like I think honestly, I
True.
think Chloe Kelly could do the job. I also think if we're being honest, I think a player that we've really
Different
underestimated.
offensive
Yeah,
contributions, though.
agree. But I think we've really underestimated a lot of Ubermoy. The way that she's grown into the back line, and I mean, I'm
Hey,
secure
what
with
do you
her.
mean? I'm Wubben Moy's biggest fucking
You're
ambassador.
Moy
Yeah,
pilled. Yeah, I know,
I
but
am Wubben Moy pilled.
the cover on that right hand side a lot of the time actually comes from Ubermoy, and it's funny. It's actually the balls in the air. She's controlling them far better than I've seen her in the last at least 2 seasons.
You wouldn't have won. You wouldn't have won the UCLW last year if it weren't for Wubben Moy's cover. If it weren't for the reality. Like I know you moved Leah. I know you had Leah and Catley, but if you didn't have Wubben Moy as the cover, you need that player because Leah Williamson isn't going to be fresh and firing just yet. And Catley has been good, just not to the exact same level she was last year, and that's fine. But I think there is a question for Wubben Moy when Katie Reid comes back. What is your role? What is your position? She's got to make her mark now. This is no time like the present for Lottie Wubben Moy to show what she's worth to North London and the Hale End ultimately. But is there anything else you want to say about Leuven Arsenal? Is there anything that stuck to your mind? Did you think
We're gonna win the quadruple.
Yes, I forgot. There we go. I didn't actually, that wasn't set up, by the way. That was just a bit of improv.
We're gonna win the
right
quadruple.
there.
What do you want me to say?
Yeah.
We're gonna win the quadruple.
There's not, no, the reason you're not going to win the quadruple is because of the team right there. And then this team as well. Barcelona packing in Paris FC. A little bit of back and forth. Maybe it wasn't packing in. Maybe I'm doing Paris FC a bit of a disservice.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I feel like Paris actually held themselves.
Yeah, in the
honestly.
first half at least.
Yeah.
It was a very back and forth with Mateo forcing saves from Katakoi. But ultimately, Barca topped the group, and it's not Payol. The streak ends here. 7 games. First game she blanked, but it meant that Vicky Lopez could do the business in the 22nd minute. Claudia Pina sets up her, and she has 3 players on her back. Who gives a French rat's ass? Oh my God. Just rip through all 3, shoots the ball, fires it into that like middle right corner. It was really nice. Too easy for Vicky. And then, look, there was another weird Barcelona clearance again, and then Garbino hits the post. And it's those chances, right? So if another team gets it, it's 1-1. Like Levante Badalona showed it. They can make it 1-1. Mm-hmm. But if you hit the post, then Barcelona will capitalize on you. And then there was quite an entertaining moment at the end of the first half between Ndongala and Irina Paredes after a pretty hefty, elbowy, guarded challenge from Paredes. I'm not sure how I felt about that, but also a little bit of aura farming from Paredes. That's how it felt.
Well, the question was that I asked you that was a bit on Twitter as well. What language are they speaking? I kind of wish it was broken Catalonian with a bit of French. And
I assume it's a bit of both. I assume Irina speaks a little bit of French. Surely.
Well, she played in PSG. So
exactly. I was going to say she'll be fine. They're in French. She knows exactly what Ndongala is saying. Definitely. But it was a quick start for Barcelona and a lot more convincing in the second half with Carolina Graham Anson finally delivering a goal. She's off the mark in the second half for this. Hopefully the second half of this season sees the best of what we know Caro to bring. But again, Paris, what are you doing? Do not let this girl turn and get the chance to strike that ball.
It felt like it was in 0.5 speed. I was watching it and I was like, okay, she's touched it, she's turned, she's looked up. Every motion of it was
it was just, and no one was closing her down. No. It was horrendous, and it just went in the far corner. It was a Caro-esque finish. It wasn't cut inside or anything, but I want to see Caro play Clara Bull level though. But that's or more. Honestly, everyone who thinks Clara Bull is the best player in the world, watch Caro 2 seasons ago. This is a different level
They're
of
different
football.
players. They're different. Players.
No, 100%.
In terms of just their output on the flanks as well, I'm looking at Caro for more goals. Honestly, I don't really care if she gets assists. They're going to get assists anywhere. And players will make their own goals. Like, Pina doesn't need a cutback from Caro. She can just get the ball and do it herself.
But it would be nice, though.
I want goals from Caro, because that's what I think that she offers for a winger. Her GA is insane, especially 2 seasons ago. So I don't know. I honestly, I feel like she was a bit dejected from losing the ballon, and since then she's just been like, you know what, you want to see real shitty Caro
individual accolades trumping the team accolades. That's very Norwegian of you, to be honest. But I mean, even for Norway, like, in the Euros, the group stages, she was being messed about, but ultimately she had moments of magic. And this was one of those little moments of magic, gets Barcelona over the line. None of the real half chances that were had for Barca were taken particularly well. I mean, Lexi had a chance, but it wasn't really there. Pina and Caro linked up. I think Caro wanted a pen for that weird chance where she fell over, but it was a fantastic challenge. But good to see Alexia, Caro, Pina combine, and then Pina got a disallowed goal. And then the full-time whistle goes. A routine win tops the group of the knockout stages with no losses as well. 5 wins, 1 draw, 20 goals, 3 goals conceded. A ridiculous run of form. Too easy for them, other than the Chelsea blip, if you can call it a blip. I mean, it was Chelsea's best night, their worst night, and they still got a draw. But it puts them in great stead. And we can look at the draw right now as we see. I mean, the draw last night was no GK Barry moment for me. I think GK Barry should be at every draw for everything that happens proceeding in football, because if anyone says that the GK Barry draw was embarrassing, watch how mid this draw was. I couldn't.
It's not mid. It was just PR.
Mid. Sorry, not mid. It's Bielde.
It was just they take themselves so seriously at UEFA that they can't have any, like, the jokes that they have is like, oh, remember that time you scored a goal? Like,
I love my team. I love my team, and I want them to win, and that's why I had them draw Arsenal. You know, like, that's what happened. But we'll look at the knockouts first. I mean, Atleti versus Man United, a rerun of prior, a 1-0 prior, but ultimately I think Atleti will have different smoke to come out, but both these teams got packed in by Bayern, so it doesn't really matter. I think Bayern would be licking their lips about where they've drawn themselves, similar to Barcelona, who've drawn Real Madrid or Paris FC.
Barca have easily the easiest path to the final, in my opinion.
They are booking tickets for Oslo as we speak. But the other side of the draw are where things get tasty. The blue side. Sorry, not the silver, the blue side. As we have Leuven v Arsenal yet again, a return of the Schlonking. I think Beth Mead all over that one again. Yeah. And then Arsenal v Chelsea in the quarterfinal. It is going to be generational. I think this might be the moment where we may have to do a live stream. We may have to do something for this game.
Well, I mean, it's either it's a live stream of me, like, you know, coming to God moment for Leggy, or it's like I start believing in a higher spirit, because
there's semi-automated offsides in this competition, so there's no issues to be had now.
It's either that, or like I just blankly stare at whatever performance we put out. I mean, I'm confident. I'm always going to be confident, but I'm actually pretty chuffed, honestly. You can say, like, okay, well, that side of the draw also includes.
It's better than Lyon. Would you rather Chelsea or would you rather Lyon?
Well, I would rather Chelsea, but it's like the inevitable being that we would play Lyon, because I don't think either Wolfsburg or Juve will touch a glove on Lyon. I think
Juve will get battered worse. I think Juve will get battered worse. But Wolfsburg were very extensively poor against Lyon, and I think they have. There is the thing that Wolfsburg will have for the Lyon game is that they can't really do worse than they did. They were 3-0 down, got that consolation, but ultimately, I think it was a Beerenstein consolation. But all they need to do is just set up a new style so that can't happen again. Ultimately, they can't do worse than they've done. They can only do better, and they're going to put the pressure on. I think Wolfsburg at home will present a different challenge to Lyon. But
I don't know about that. I mean, just in terms of history, like in terms of Wolfsburg's history in the competition. No, I was just about to say in the last 2 seasons, being at home hasn't necessarily proven that great, a greater task to overcome. I mean, yes, Chelsea were the first team to beat a German team at home in the modern iteration of the Champions League. But I also think that going back 2 seasons now, 3 seasons now, 22-23, Arsenal had a fantastic run and took Wolfsburg to town. Like it was just basically a consolation goal at the end of a home leg for us that saw us knocked out. So, I mean, I would love for it to be run back to an Arsenal Wolfsburg semi-final.
The contrary to that is a Sonia Bompasta reunion crossover episode where Chelsea play at Lyon, and I think a lot of people will want to see that. I mean, I think it'll be a masterful. I think it'll be a masterful performance, and there'll be a bit of grit between Lyon's teeth to be able to make sure that Sonia can't get through the semi-final legs yet again. But I mean, I struggled, other than your lot, I struggled to see a team that packs in the favourite in their respective pot corner. But, I mean, Bayern v Barca, there are some scores to settle. What did I say? That they have to... They're, again, similar to that Wolfsburg-Lyon, but on a bigger scale. That was their worst night versus their best night, and I think they have something to prove, especially at the Allianz. They're going to put out a monster... They're going to put out a monster lineup. They're going to go throw all guns blazing. They're going to put the physical pressure onto Barcelona. But it's old school, old dogs revealing new tricks. Are we in for the end of the era, the Barca-Lyon final, the two greatest titans we've seen in the last half a decade, or more than a decade nearly, going at each other toe to toe?
Yes, because Arsenal's making the final, obviously. No, if I'm being sincere, like if I'm being genuine and I don't have my Arsenal hat on, I don't think so. I just think those two are so easily the best teams in Europe right now, in the world right now. I think that they approach the game.
I love how you had to correct that. Just like that's for all the Yanks. That's for all the Yanks out there in the world. Yeah, exactly.
In the same pedestal as
But Leggy, if Gotham were in the UWCL, they don't lose in the cup. They don't lose in the cup competitions.
I would honestly if it were not to be any of the two teams, Barca or Lyon, I'm obviously choosing Lyon to get knocked out as soon as possible. But it would be fascinating to see what other teams do. I mean, like we saw teams like Arsenal take, the Lyons, the Barcas, etc. I kind of like the idea that the draw is not as, it's not as fixed as you like to say. Like it's, any team can beat any team. Basically.
I think this is exactly where you want to be. No offense. Yeah. Like I know you'd love to be like, not have to play the extra game, but you need the underdog mentality. Other than the Leuven game, once you knock out Leuven, this is exactly where you want to be. You want to be chips are down. Everyone thinks you're going to lose. This is the story of Arsenal in the last year, and we'll see if your players are up for it again, and we'll see if Sonia's players are up for it this year. Because last year, they weren't in the semi-final, and it could mean early exit for Chelsea, which is crazy. I would love nothing more than actually no, I'm not going to say that. I was going to say, you know what? I love Sonia von Pasta, and I think she deserves no criticism. She is a great manager, and she. Look, if they lose in the semi-final, would you say is that failure on their behalf? They've put so much investment and money in it. Yeah.
If any of the teams in that quarterfinal bracket already in there, so the Chelsea, Lyon, Barca, Bayern, if any of those teams lose, it's a failure, in my opinion. And that's even including Arsenal.
I don't think
based on how much money they've spent each of them.
If Bayern, I'm saying if they make the semi-final. I'm saying if Bayern make the semi-final, that's where they should be. They shouldn't have to beat Barca to be a bottle, yeah.
No, sure. I think, but if, for example, either Atleti or United beat Bayern, then that's a failure.
That's a failure. Fair enough. But, Chelsea going out in the quarterfinals, I wonder how Chelsea fans will react.
They just don't deserve to be in a semi-final just to get smacked again. What's the point?
The history... I don't know what their history against Lyon is, particularly in the sense of...
The last time they played against each other was a quarterfinal, and it was the AKB saving of Lindsay Horan's penalty.
Yes. Okay. So it's not like they have a bad blueprint ready to go. Your lot will channel the brave heart that is Kim Little to try and take on Lyon again. But there is a lot to desire in coming into the new year, coming into the new season. I mean, there's just been some great moments in the UWCL so far, and we love it all, honestly. It's great. I can't wait till we're back in it, battering Barcelona in the group stage like we usually do, annual event. And then, hopefully, I wonder if there's going to be any January investments for the top 5 sides. I think your lot, you've already reeled in Smiller, but I'm talking about who can buy in Lyon, Barca, Chelsea. They're pretty stacked squads.
Lyon, I don't think can. I just don't see the possibility of increasing your squad to a point in which now you just kind of lose your identity.
Did you say can or Kang? I think they can.
Barca
I think they can. They definitely can.
Barca need to.
But Barca don't. Barca's less about what they need and more about what they can afford. Funny that we say that, because ultimately it's a complete Menso issue, not a WOSO issue. But Bayern Munich, their depth is relatively solid. It's just about rewriting wrongs, and I think there's a good story to be told there, especially with Clara Bull on her mental run of form. But I cannot wait for Oslo. I cannot wait for the Arsenal-Chelsea London derby. More games against each other, stresses them out, the league form disappears, and City win the WSL. It'll be a super asterisk WSL, because everyone will be like, well, they didn't have Europe. Fair enough. I don't give a crap. It's the same trophy. Bunny, 25 goals, breaks the record. Game is game. I don't know how I've ended up talking about City at the end of a UWCL.
Of course, it's because there's no way to talk about City because you're not in the Champions League.
But who has the most goals for Arsenal in the UWCL? Is it Little?
No, it's not. Oh, for all time.
All time, it'd be Little, surely.
All time. I believe it is Kim Little with 38.
Wow, unbelievable. Yep. Unbelievable. If we're also looking at other stats, Peniel Harder is in the top 5 currently with 46, but only needs 5 more goals in the next, 3-4 games to get to the second highest goal scorer.
Does she topple Ada, do you think?
Absolutely not. Ada's still going.
What is it, 68 goals?
Ada's going to crunch Wolfsburg. It's going to be disastrous. But she's at 69 goals currently in the UWCL, and I wonder if she'll get to 70, 75 by the end of this run. And I think, if they come up against any London side, she will be hungry to right wrongs that she has against London-based sides. But that is all we have for this week's part 2. Follow us on Instagram, Spotify, full audio podcast, YouTube, full audio and visual podcast, so you can see our beautiful faces and virtual/real backgrounds, and TikTok as well for any short form content /edits/comment on our TikTok /comment in whatever language you want. We will read it, translate it, and love it all. We love everything that you guys are bringing to the bench as we continue to warm it. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great week.